I'm Craig Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
I'm Coach Margaret.
And today we're going to be talking about what is an anniversary reaction.
And why is it important?
This is a good question, and for many of you guys, this information may come as a surprise.
Right. We did this one before, but it's worth doing again, and I've had it come up several times in the last couple of weeks in actual cases.
Yeah.
What is an anniversary reaction? The way human beings are made is we, of course, don't like trauma and separation and things like that.
No,
And
not at all.
And if we've had a bad trauma or separation on a particular date at a particular time of year, then we tend to remember on the anniversary of that event every single year.
Yep.
And what can happen is, well, you know, I was married to Joe for a really long time, and he would go into a blue funk in October, and he wouldn't come out of it until Thanksgiving. Well, my first question would be, what happened to Joe? What was going on in Joe's life? Is there an anniversary of something bad that happened in there that might help us to understand? And I'll try to do this without giving away too much of this lady's private life. But I've been working with a lady who said to me that a couple of times a year, her boyfriend tends to distance from her. And she gets all upset and anxious and doesn't know what's going on and doesn't know if it's something she did and tends to blame herself and on, as most of us do. And finally I said to her, I think you need to ask, her boyfriend had had a terrible family tragedy in his life. I said, I bet you that if you ask him the date that happened, it's going to correlate with one of the times he pulls back from you. And she very nicely wrote me a text after that saying, you were right. His family tragedy happened in early winter, and he would tend to distance from her around that time.
Yep.
Now, it would have been nice if he could have told her why, but he didn't know either. Okay, that he would distance around that time or why.
Yeah.
So we can walk around with many anniversaries in our lives and not ever be told about them. I was enlightened about this phenomenon by my first supervisor back in the medieval times when I used to practice this. And as a supervisor over years and years, I realized that therapists were not being taught this, and it's very important information. So I have gone around preaching the gospel of anniversary reactions, and I can just share a couple of cases with you. They are the annual echo of a trauma or a loss, such as the death of a loved one, a nightmarish experience like a sexual assault, a near-fatal accident, military combat, anything really awful that's going to shake you.
Maybe a parent left the home when you were a child.
Absolutely. What time of year did that happen?
Good
point.
Yeah. Death of a sibling.
Yes, death in the family. That's one of the first things to ask about. Some people want to add this as a diagnostic feature in post-traumatic stress disorder, that if you're treating someone with post-traumatic stress disorder, you'd have a specifier that would say with anniversary reaction, because that can certainly happen. And once the person makes it conscious, they feel so much better because they don't know why they feel so crazy during the month of October. And it would answer some questions for them too.
It brings up a lot of the old feelings of the past.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And if you're not aware of it, it can make you feel like what is going on with me?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Like I know that, towards the end of November every year, I'm going to feel something in my unconscious, because that's when my mom passed away.
And all these years later, I have it in early March when my dad passed away. And we're talking a lot of years, let me tell you. But you just honor it and be aware of it, and then you don't wonder what's wrong with you or get grumpy and not know why you are.
But you'll find yourself arguing with a partner, and you don't being irritable.
Yep. Why am I so grumpy?
And you don't even know why.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, you don't know why.
And so that's why we're talking about this.
Yes.
Because if you're in a relationship with somebody and they had something like this, and you know the month that it happened, you can be like, okay, this is happening around that same time.
And let's remember this year so that neither one of us, is surprised or shocked. And if you need space, you can have it. If you need support, you can have it. But it's important to know it. I always talk about the lady who came to me one time, and she had been diagnosed as bipolar. And she didn't strike me as bipolar after I had seen her a bunch of times. But she appeared to be having frequent months where she would have a pretty formidable depression. So it looked like she was having mood swings. But because I wasn't sure, I kept pursuing the history. And what it turned out was she had had 2 sets of step-parents, the way her life happened to play out. And she had gotten attached to both sides. The step-parents were good to her. So she lost like 6 parents over the course of a few years. And it came down to she had the anniversary of a loss almost every month. Okay? And then there was the wonderful woman when I asked her about anniversaries, and she said, my whole friggin' life is an anniversary. And she didn't say friggin' either. And she was friggin' right.
I think you dropped the F-bomb in that video. You said that before.
Did I?
Yeah.
Well, I think she had a wonderful friggin' sense of humor. Good for her. But aside from all of her joking about it, she was able to use it. And she had, unfortunately, too many trauma. There's another story I like to tell. A friend of mine, her mother, told a story about her mother was a housekeeper for a guy who had been on the Titanic. You want to talk about trauma, okay? And every year, on the anniversary of the sinking of the Titanic, he would go into a trance on the anniversary day, and he would pace around talking gibberish and screaming periodically for a couple of hours.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. Now that's pretty extreme, but you get the idea. And imagine if you had escaped the Titanic. How terrified you must have been. One of the definitions of trauma is that you see something that's life-threatening to you or others. Dear God, think about the Titanic. And if that's the only symptom he still had, I'm sorry, and I wish somebody had helped him with that. But he wasn't doing too bad. Okay? So anniversaries can be very important. And where we hear it oftentimes is that I'm in a relationship and periodically my partner seems to distance, to pull back, and be distant for a few weeks or even a couple of months. And it's very important to ask that question. Okay?
Yeah. So if you see or think about a pattern with your partners, maybe you've been together 6 years and you think to yourself, now that I think about it, every May he leaves the house and we get into a huge fight and he's gone for a week. And then you find out, oh, May is when his brother died in a motorcycle accident.
Right, exactly that kind of thing.
Or something like that. It's easier to figure out what's going on with your partner because they might have no idea.
Yes, and they often don't have any idea. And when you say to them, this is regular, they say, oh, really? I didn't know that. And then you can support them or give them space, whichever they would like.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay?
Give them the option.
But it doesn't leave you wondering if you did something wrong.
Yeah. Good information.
All right. I hope it's useful.
Hopefully that was helpful to you, and maybe you can assess your situation a little bit and figure out what's going on there. That might give you some clues. And of course, if you want to get our help personally, just go to my website, askcraig.net. Sign up for the coaching option that works best for you. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Margaret is also available for Skype coaching.
And I've caught up a little bit on scheduling, so I can get you in fairly soon.
So just click on Margaret on the top of the website to do that. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
I'm Coach Margaret.
And we will talk with you soon.